Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are live, and we've got an old friend who's been on the show before, back with us, Pastor Artur Pawlowski. Thank you so much for coming back on. I wish we could have you on sometime and just share some good news, but we tend to have you on when things are going bad up in Canada, and we've got another situation going on, so we had to have you back on the show.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Noah, for having me back. I mean, the good news is still here. Jesus died on the cross and rose from the grave. I mean, he is a sitting King of Kings and Lord of Lords sitting on his throne. So that's the good news. In the meantime, while things are happening, enemy is not happy. I've learned something from my mom when I was growing up as a kid. And of course, at that time, I did not really understand what she was doing. To me, it was absolute insanity. Every Saturday, early in the morning, she would wake up and start cleaning. And it's not a cleaning that I would do. My way of cleaning is a little bit here, a little bit there, but that's not my mom. She would flip everything literally upside down, every corner, everything. It looked like a Saigon. It looked like, a war just started in our house. And of course, as a kid, I did not really understand that. But later on, it hit me. In order to really do a good cleanup, you have to flip the tables. You have to do something drastic. You have to, move things around and flip them over and look at every corner under the carpet in order to do a proper cleaning. I believe that's what God is doing. He's allowing the enemy to do certain things for the purpose to expose them, to show the world what is really happening, the dirt, the hidden thing, the skeletons in the closet. I think that's what is happening right now. And some people are hurting, people like me, people like Reimer, and that's the unbelievable, crazy story that is happening. Of course, Ireland, look what is happening over there with that teacher. England has fallen, France is on fire, Germany is gone. Now they're trying to destroy my old country, Poland, with this massive invasion, because we cannot talk about immigration. You see, Noah, I am an immigrant, and you can tell right away because of my accent. It took me 5 years with my family. We went through medical, police check. We had to have money. We had to have a solid, real plan. It took us 5 years of paperwork and meeting in embassy with the Canadian authorities. When we finally were allowed to come to Canada, we are the real immigrants. We came to North America for a purpose, because America was giving us a future, a second chance, if you will, a life without persecution, a life without corruption, within the government and the police force. So we came here. Now, what we're experiencing globally is an invasion. They are purposely destroying this country. This is controlled demolition, Noah.
Yes, it is. Our guest is Pastor Artur Pawlowski. He's known as Canada's pastor for very good reason. And you may recognize him from the famous clip that went viral a couple years ago, where he said, get out, to the people trying to invade his church, the police, during COVID. So, I wanted to have you on today because I want to get an update on your story. But also, we've got this new situation happening with Pastor Reimer up there, and all the other countries you mentioned. It's so true. I mean, we've long said that America is kind of the last bastion of free speech, but it's becoming more and more clear. People being thrown in prison over Facebook comments in the UK, just ridiculous stuff. But maybe we covered it a couple days ago on our website. But maybe for the people that don't know. Can you please, I know you're deeply involved in this. I saw you in some of the videos standing side by side with Derek. But can you just tell people what's going on with Pastor Derek up there? How did it start? What are they claiming that he did wrong? And then what's the current status?
Yeah, well, for the past 20 years, believe it or not, now I am in court fighting over 120 court cases, over 300 60 citations and multiple arrests since 2005. I have been warning the Canadian people, Canadian churches, and the pastors that if, when they came for me, surely it's just a matter of time they're going to come for them as well. Every totalitarian regime, every police state, every wannabe tyrants, I call them the little pharaohs, they always have the same modus operandi. They always do the same thing. It's like they're reading a book how to become a tyrant, and they're just flipping the pages, next chapter. One of the first things people have to realize and understand, historically speaking, this is not Pastor Artur Pawlowski preaching, this is history preaching, that the first thing that always goes, Noah, is the religious liberties. They always go first. Why? Because this is a clashing of the spirits. The wannabe pharaohs, they view themselves, the globalists, whatever you want to call them, right? Those that are telling you will own nothing. Why? Because they will own everything. And they are telling you that when you will own nothing, you will be happy. That's absolutely not true. You're talking to a man that grew up behind the Iron Curtain under the boots of a very similar totalitarian regime. We didn't own anything. And I'm telling you, Noah, we were not happy. So the same people view themselves as the elites, the higher people. And they believe that they are like little gods. Whatever they say, they automatically must become the law. So here is the problem. Now they have to deal with the whistleblowers, and most of the whistleblowers are Christians. Why? Because we believe in the Bible, we believe in the truth, we believe in righteousness, we believe in justice, we believe, because all of those things, you got to remember, God is God of not of chaos, that's Satan. God is God of order. Our God, the biblical God, is God of order. Everything he established in a certain way. There are laws that we're being governed with. And if you step outside of that, you're going to end up in trouble. So now they're telling you, bow before the, let's say, golden statue. During the COVID, I said it, bow before the golden muzzle. Or else. It's the same thing is happening right now. They are telling you, bow before our ideology, either transgenderism or climate or whatever. It was global warming before, all kinds of things. The ideology may change, the wording, the faces, the names may change, but the tyranny remains. So what is happening right now, that the people that are rising up, a lot of them are Christians, and Derek Reimer is a perfect example of clashing of the spirits, if you will. Derek Reimer is a pastor in the city that I live as well. And as I said before, I have become the canary in the coal mine. And I was warning people about what's coming. And now they're coming after other pastors. Derek Reimer decided to expose, he has become the whistleblower, exposing pedophilia and grooming of the children in the city of Calgary in the province of Alberta. For the people to understand, Alberta is viewed by lots of people as the beacon of freedom. It's a conservative government, and they're thinking that this government is for them. While at the same time, this government just introduced digital ID, the same government that they view as the saviors of Alberta, imprisoned more pastors during the lockdowns than the entire country of Canada. And they're doing this on purpose. People need to understand that the easier way to fool the people is by playing this good cop, bad cop scenario, a game. You have to understand that the cops are working for the same system. They're working for the same police department. They're just playing you. And that's exactly what is happening here. So Derek Reimer went to see what is really happening. Most of the people do not know what is really happening during something that they call the drag queen story hour, the reading with royalties. Okay, that's how they're calling it. So Derek Reimer heard about this, pastor in Calgary, and decided to go and see for himself what is going on. And here is an unbelievable, crazy story. What is happening during those grooming sessions, because that's what they are, is a man dressed as a woman, sometimes aroused, okay, as gruesome as this is, playing a dress up. I want you to understand what is happening over there. They're playing dress up with toddlers and young children. So you have a male adult with a beard dressed as a woman playing dress up with children, and
Yeah.
that paid by taxpayers' money, protected by the Calgary police, and forwarded by the so-called conservative government. So Derek Reimer took it upon himself to let the world know what is really happening. That's it. That's his crime. He talked to the manager. Shannon Slayer, and he said to her, "Listen, I'm a Christian and I don't agree. I don't want my money to be paid for this grooming sessions with children." And for you to understand, they're playing, they are singing songs. If you trance and you know it, move your bum. If once and you know it, you will show it, and they are perverting those children. You got to remember, children are very vulnerable. They have no idea what's going on. They see a kind of a funny looking dude doing some funny things, and they don't know any better. They think that this is fun, and if you trance and you know it, send blow a kiss and stuff like this. And this is a perfect example of the grooming. The type of pedophiles are grooming children, for what they want to do with them. And that's nothing new. I mean, we have seen this movie before. Roman Empire had the same thing. I mean, during the Roman Empire, everything was a goal, right? Children, girls, boys, you name it. Under Ottoman Empire, the same thing. So this is a revived, in my opinion, revived Roman Empire that they are ushering right now, where you've got the Caesar, you've got the God type of a person, whatever he says is the law, and every other opinion, every other form of worship is forbidden, or you will be sent to the lion's den. Derek talked to the manager, 90 seconds conversation. The manager asked him to go. He goes, he complies, and nothing. You would never hear anything about the story, but the mayor, Jody Gondek of the city of Calgary, her daughter is trans. So she got involved, and she said to the police, "Arrest this guy. Do something with this man. It cannot be that he's, voicing his opinion about this matter." And Derek Reimer was arrested. And the charges, Noah, are unbelievable. Very similar to the charges I received. As you know, I was arrested for publicly reading Bible. I was arrested for feeding the homeless. I was arrested for illegally distributing printed material, which is Bibles and gospel tracts. I was arrested for a sermon. Can you believe it? I was arrested and charged with terrorism. I have become the first pastor in a history of this country to be charged with terrorism for a sermon to a peaceful assembly on a private property during the truck convoy. Also, I was charged with other criminal offenses and imprisoned, solitary confinement, metal cages, as you know, a psych ward. I was kidnapped by sheriffs, taken to MaxPod for the most dangerous terrorists. I was told that I will be, housed there indefinitely. Because I'm so dangerous. They even took my pen and my Bibles because I'm super dangerous. So you can find all of that. And I encourage people to read my book. I penned this book in prison, and it has been confiscated by the Canadian government 3 times. My courageous lawyer smuggled my book from prison, and we sent it to the American publishers. Lions Do Not Bow, and you can get it. It's on a discount right now, Amazon.com for the American people and Amazon.ca. But that's how crazy this whole thing is. So Derek Reimer was arrested, and then arrested again, and charged and breached. This is a 3-year ordeal already, back and forth in prison. And the latest craziness, the judge, Judge Fracham, acquitted him. He says, "You're not guilty." So the Crown prosecutors went and appealed that decision. The decision of acquittal was overturned, and then now Derek Reimer is going to be tried again for the same crime. I mean, double jeopardy does not exist in the United States of America, but it does exist here. If the Crown prosecutors, that's like your attorney state attorneys,
District attorney,
district
prosecutor. Yes.
That's right. So we have crown prosecutors because we are under the boot of a monarch here in Canada. Canada is not free; it was never free. So what is happening right now is that they can keep appealing indefinitely until they will find a crooked judge, corrupted judge that will give them what they want, which is guilty verdict. So Derek Reimer was found.
That's so wrong.
It's crazy. I mean, it's a totalitarian regime that I have seen when I was growing up. Police officers behind the Iron Curtain, under the boots of the communism and socialism, they had this famous saying from Beria. Beria worked for Joseph Stalin during that time, and he had this famous saying, "Give me a man, and I will find something on that man." In other words, I cook something up. I mean, we can accuse anyone of everything and pin it and make it stick. That's what they're doing to Derek Reimer. That's what they were doing to me. As you know, I was convicted by the crooked judge Gordon Crinky in Alberta, appointed judge by the government, and he found me guilty on terrorism. So I was not only charged with terrorism, I was convicted of terrorism for giving a sermon. During my sermon, I said to the Canadian people, peacefully, no guns, no swords. This is a solidarity style uprising, which is a peaceful paralyzing of their system by a general strike. That's what Solidarity did in the 80s, and I watched that when I was growing up. So anyway, they don't care about the law and order. Derek Reimer was wanted.
Pastor, they you talk about how they say you're so dangerous, and of course on the one hand you're not at all. You're peaceful and preaching the gospel and everything else, but on the other hand, you are dangerous. You are a dangerous man in the spirit world to them, and that is the underlying truth to it, that you are causing some real damage in the spirit realm.
Yeah, I'll prove it to you. I don't see myself as a as a somebody in the eyes of man, but you're right. When you believe in the Bible, when you love Jesus with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your mind, then you become dangerous to the crooks, to the liars who hate the truth speakers, right? The truth preachers. Well, those that love the lies. Their house has been built. It's a house of lies. And the moment someone like you and me comes and says, well, this is a lie, the whole thing crumbles. I remember during Derek's trial, I was sitting in a gallery praying, and the crown prosecutor, Matt Deladovich, he stood up in front of the judge and said, Your Honor, I refuse to work. As long as this man is sitting in the gallery, I will not do my job. Can you believe it? And the judge looked at me, and said to the sheriffs, deal with him. And I was escorted out, kicked out for nothing, because my presence was disturbing whatever was happening in the courtroom. And we've seen it multiple times. So Derek Reimer was convicted by Karen Molly, and one of the most crooked judges in the province of Alberta. Karen Molly, Derek appeals whatever is happening to him. And because the process becomes the punishment, Noah, the process is the punishment, because you need hundreds of thousands of dollars. It cost me millions of dollars in legal fees already to fight those people for the past 20 years. I was just charged $130,000 for my lawsuit against those people. So the system, the totalitarian system, understands what is happening. A little man like me, without the support of the people like you, we cannot fight them. They have unlimited resources, taxpayers' money. We have to crowdfund. We have to ask people, please, can you chip in? I'm willing to fight. I'm in the trenches, but please supply us with the bullets, in quote, so we can keep fighting the tyranny. So they know the system. Derek Reimer could not afford a lawyer, so he represented himself. And I've never seen something like this before, Noah. And again, I'm a little bit of an expert now, 120 court cases. I think I have become the most persecuted Canadian in the history of this country, with over 360 citations and so many arrests. My lawyers don't even remember how many times I was arrested, including the COVID era for keeping the church's doors open. I received tickets after tickets. In one day, I think I received 21 tickets. So it just gives you an idea. So Derek Reimer represents himself. He goes to the court and he makes his submission. So the system is this. When you file an application, then the judge, as a referee, he is required or she's required just to listen to the submissions. Okay, you make your submission, and I will make a ruling. That's the normal way of dealing in the court. This devil, this crooked, corrupted, woke, rogue judge, Karen Molly, she stops Derek in the middle of his submissions. She's not even allowing this man to make his presentation. And she says, I don't want to hear it. And Derek's like, but I have a right to make my case. I mean, it's my life. She stops him, and then she leaves the room and tells the sheriffs to deal with Derek. So Derek was escorted out and was told, when the judge tells you to stop, you must stop or we'll have to arrest you. So he comes back, the judge comes back. This does not allow him, Karen Molly, she does not allow him to proceed. He's not allowed to make his case. Instead, she turns to the Crown prosecutor. He submits his submissions without any interruption, and then she makes a ruling not allowing Derek Reimer to say a word. Can you believe it? I mean, this is what I remember, because I teach history. Nazis did during the Adolf Hitler era. That's exactly what the communists did when I was growing up. That's exactly what is happening in North Korea under Sharia law, in China, that's in Soviet Russia. This is exactly the modus operandi of tyrants. We don't want to hear. We already made up our mind. We call this show trial. A show trial is when an accused is being brought before the so-called justice, and it doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter what kind of evidence that individual has. It has already been decided because it has been decided by the politicians. Derek, they refused. The Karen Molly made her decision against Derek Reimer. So he goes back to house arrest. And then Karen Molly, this is crazy stuff. Even when I'm sharing this with you, she made a court order. I want the people to understand what is happening in Canada. She made a court order demanding Derek Reimer, pastor in Calgary, Alberta, under conservative government. That's like your Republicans. She demanded that he is to write an apology letter to the manager that brings the groomers and all kinds of weirdos into our libraries. And Derek says, I cannot do that. This would be going against my faith, against my religion, against my conscience. And in Canada, we used to have something that is a freedom of peaceful assembly. That's gone. Freedom of religion. That's gone. Freedom of conscience. That's gone. And Derek Reimer said that he's not going to do it. And that reminds me of another man. I remember when I was touring United States before my final arrest on the tarmac, not final arrest, one of the arrests, when I arrived to step out of the plane and I was arrested, can you believe it, on a tarmac. That reminded me of Martin Luther, the German monk, because that was my last address to the American people when I knew I'm going to be arrested. And that was my farewell. Maybe we will never see each other again. And I want you to remember my final words. And I quoted this. So listen, because that's what Derek Reimer is doing right now. Martin Luther, the German monk, when he was brought before a show trial as well, and of course the penalty was not just imprisonment or house arrest, the penalty was being burned on a stake and maybe tortured, and your legs would be broken and arms, and who knows, those people were sick to the core. He stood in front of them and they asked him one thing. They said, if you recount, if you say you're sorry, that's exactly what they want from Derek Reimer. That's what they wanted from me. The Crown Prosecutor, Stephen Johnson, said to me when I was in prison, solitary confinement, against the international laws, he said, if you say you're sorry, you can go home. That's exactly what the establishment wants. They want us to bow, just like Satan said to Jesus, if you only bow, I'll give you this and I'll give you that, and you'll be the king. And Jesus looked at him and he's like, I'll paraphrase this, of course, but he looked at the Satan. I imagine this how it unfolded. Like, I'm already a king. You have nothing to give me, dude. I'm already the King of Kings. Everything belongs to me. But here's what Martin Luther said: I cannot and will not recount anything, for to go against conscience is neither right nor safe. Here I stand. I can do no other. So help me God. That's what he said when he faced his tormentors and facing being burned on a stake. And Derek Reimer did the same thing. So what those little minions of Satan did, they sent the police. And I had this feeling, Noah, usually I don't go with him to the probation office every week. He has to go to see his probation officer. And Palmer, I think, if I remember correctly, Palmer is the name of that devil probation officer in Calgary. And here's what I want people to understand. In the office, because I was there, so I testify and I recorded it, in the office of the probation, where Derek Reimer is subjected to cruel and unusual punishment, he has everywhere, every door, a homosexual flag. So you're being subjected to an entity that promotes only one side, right? One ideology, and you're Christian, therefore you will get a stick. Derek is forced to apologize. He says, I cannot apologize. So he has been given into the hands of this Palmer guy, the head of the probation office. And as he walks into the room, that man says, you have to follow me to another room. And Derek knew that there are police officers waiting like gangsters, like mafia people in that room. So he says, I will not go there because you're going to arrest me where no one will know what happens to me. So I was there. I was filming back and forth, talking, waiting. Police cruiser shows up, sees me. They took off because they know it's going to be a splash now. The people of the world will know what is happening. So they went around where we were not allowed to go, hid their police vehicles like mafia, like gangsters, and waited for hours for Derek to finally come into the room. Derek didn't. He came with his wife, his supporters. So finally, lawyer showed up. Mackenzie is his name. He showed up, and Derek comes out to see his lawyer, and that's boom. Police came from the room, arrested Derek, and he has been charged with 4 accounts of breaches, and the breaches are insane. Derek Reimer, at the last meeting with Karen Molly, the crooked judge of Alberta, denied his right to make his appeal, to make his submissions. After coming out, he did 3 minutes interview with the media. In other words, he said to the public what is happening to him and what happened in the court. They breached him for that because they said you should immediately leave the court and go home because you're on house arrest. Then they breached him for talking to people like you, Noah. They breached him because he indirectly was contacting the manager, Shannon Slayer. He didn't. He never mentioned her name. He didn't say anything about that woman except the manager, the supervisor manager of library. She complained about this. That's it. I mean, those are facts of the case. He's fighting for his life and he's telling the public what is happening to him. It came from that woman. He is not mentioning her. They breached him on this as well. Also, they breached him on the compelled speech, the apology letter. They said to him, if you're refusing to apologize, in other words, you got to recant your faith. You have to, everything that happened to you have to throw under the bus and go against your conscience, against your faith, against the truth. If you refuse to do that, you will rot in prison. And that's what happened to him. He was arrested in front of me. I recorded it. The video went crazy viral because people are realizing right now, okay, Artur Pawlowski was right. First they came for him. Now they're coming after everyone. Mm-hmm. Anyone that dares to speak up is going to be subjected to this cruel and unusual punishment, and the process is going to destroy you. like it happened to us. We had, I was a businessman before. We had properties, and all of it I had to sell just to keep fighting and staying out of prison. I faced 12 and a half years of imprisonment for being a pastor in Canada that promised me that here no one will persecute us for our faith. So Derek Reimer, there is a bail hearing. It was yesterday, or I think it was yesterday morning. I mean, so many things are happening with my life and with him and the whole bill C9 that is going to be used against Christians in Canada. So we were at the bail hearing. The judge says, I will release you on many conditions, but on top of that, I'm going to give you a total, are you ready now? Ban on your ability to tell your story. In other words, Derek Reimer, by the court order, is not allowed to speak. He cannot do interviews. He cannot even access social networks. He cannot take a cell phone and go, okay, let's see what Artur Pawlowski is saying on Facebook. If he does that, he will be immediately arrested and breached. Wow. So this is China. We call this country right now China, a total fall of democracy. Canada is no longer a democratic country. We are living in a dystopian, Orwell's type of a dictatorship, and they're not stopping. That's the scary thing. The churches are not rising up, and the tyrants are not stopping. The pharaohs are not stopping. That's why I'm pleading with Americans, because you are the last bastion. You are the last Alamo. Whatever you want to, think of, this is the last place on earth, powerful place on earth, where the fight still continues, where the freedom of religion, the freedom of expression, freedom of the press still exists. And it reminds me of this famous quote from 1800s, give me liberty or give me death. I mean, this is where we are right now. Mm-hmm. If we don't rise up today, if we will not get support today, and why, Noah, why it's important for the American people to help people like us. You may think, well, that's the Canadian problem, right? It's not an American problem, it's a Canadian problem. Why should we get involved? I want you to understand that your biggest threat to the American people is not coming from the southern border. Your biggest threat is coming from the northern border. We have 500,000 Chinese being trained by the Canadian Armed Forces here on Canadian soils. We have police stations already, Chinese police stations on Canadian soils. There was a big scandal that lots of members of parliament here are in bed with the Chinese government. There's scandal after scandal. And the fentanyl, your president Donald Trump was talking about fentanyl. That's all true. 99% of the shipments coming to the Vancouver ports are not screened whatsoever. The flow of fentanyl coming from China to United States. You got to remember, the fentanyl China is using Canada to usher fentanyl to destroy American lives. That's what is happening. Of course, the terrorists freely crossing the border. Donald Trump shut down the border on the south, so the terrorists are bypassing this and coming to Canada, and from Canada freely are crossing the border to attack the United States, to Americans. That's why it's so important to help people like us, because as long as we are fighting, as long as there are Arts and Dereks and others in the trenches, that's beneficial to you, because we are still fighting the enemy. We are still exposing those people. We're still in courts doing our best to let the public know what is happening. And I think that's why it's important. I remember United States, when I was growing up, still behind the Iron Curtain, it was the Americans. Maybe people don't know that it was the CIA that was smuggling American dollars and pamphlets and other materials to Poland to educate the Polish people and to fund our resistance. One country cannot do it. We all need each other. We all need help. So Derek Reimer has been released. Finally, he signs the paper last night. I got a video from his wife. They wanted me to come, but I said better not, because every time I show up, there's police. There's like they know me. They know I'm going to be exposing. So I said, for the sake of Derek, I better just get the video from you, and then I'll show it to the world, because I don't want him to go back in prison. And so he was released. He's on strict conditions, house arrest, and he's not allowed to talk to the people. So I said at the courthouse yesterday, I said to everyone, and I'm going to say the same thing to you, we have to become Derek Reimers. If he is not allowed to tell his story, we have to tell his story, and we have to warn others, because today or yesterday was Artur Pawlowski. Today is Derek Reimer. Tomorrow it's going to be you. Who is going to fight for you? Who is going to stand for you? And if you're interested in the background story, how everything unfolded, and a little bit of history, again, get my book. It's a big book, because I included history, I included background, the Get Out video, Lions Do Not Bow, and especially for now, for Christmas. And you can give it to your family, give it to your enemies, so they can be educated. There's lots of gospel there. Also, I'm asking for a support. Again, it's very hard for me sometimes to keep asking people to help us, because I was a very successful businessman, and God called me to preach the truth and feed. We are feeding thousands of people every week. Actually, if you remember the story at the beginning of 2020, it was for feeding the homeless. I became the first Canadian to get a COVID ticket, $1,200 for feeding the poor, because we are in the middle of this crisis, and feeding the poor is not allowed. I was told I'm not essential services. Can you believe it? Walmart, Safeway, Costco, IKEA, abortion clinic, liquor store, marijuana store, all of those places were essential services, but feeding the homeless, soup kitchen, was not. Of course, I resisted, and I think I got 40 or 50 tickets during that time, and I was multiple times arrested for my horrible crimes of being a pastor. So if you want to support us, go to streetchurch.ca, streetchurch.ca, and you can find all kinds of ways to support us. And please do, if you can, especially now during the Christmas season, where it's a lot harder. Christmas season is a beautiful time of the year. For some, it's the most depressing, lonely season for others, and we're dealing with those people on a regular basis, and we are still in courts, and we're still fighting. That's what makes the whole thing more dangerous. So there's so much more. I can talk for hours about what is happening in court, and the whole craziness of 3 years of deal of Derek Reimer in and out of jail, us doing protests outside of prison, and rallies outside of the court. The names of the judges, it's an endless list of cowards and traitors to the justice system and to the Canadian people. But that's done by design. People have to understand that they are attacking the West because the West was too powerful, too strong. The middle class was doing great. And in order to usher whatever they want to usher, is they need to create two categories of people. And again, this is history. The most powerful, whatever you want to call them, elites, and the poor, the slaves. So two categories of people, those that have everything, flying private jets, eating the most expensive steaks, and those that have to walk 15-minute cities, controlled, enslaved, poor slaves. That's what we're witnessing right now. That's why you got to rise up. You have to resist. And if it comes to the good news, a lot of bad things are happening. But again, like we started this, the good news is that God is allowing certain things to happen to expose them, because most of the people either are cruising, life is good, look, it's a nice weather and palm trees and all that stuff, or fallen completely asleep. They go to church once a week, they live their lives, they pay their taxes, nothing to see here. They don't get involved. They don't want to speak about anything, like the three monkeys. I see nothing, I hear nothing, therefore I won't say anything. And they are not realizing that this attack is not only against them. This attack is against our children and their children. What kind of a nations are we going to give to the next generations? Today we are making that decision. Today we are making the decision, either we're going to fold and bow before the globalists, or we're going to keep fighting. I want to fight. My God is a warrior. My God is a fighter. My God is a king. My God has unlimited resources, and he has his people everywhere. So don't be dismayed. Don't be depressed. We know how the story ends. You see, I wrote a book, but there is no ending of this book, right? The story continues. That's why God didn't finish the book of Acts, because he wants you and me to keep writing the next chapters. But the Bible has an ending. And that's the good news, Noah. We know how the story ends. It doesn't matter how bad it is today. We know how the story ends. And those crooks, those liars, the globalists, whatever you want to call them, those Bidens and Obamas and Clintons and Rothschilds and, those devils of Satan, we know that one day they're going to die. Every man dies. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Maybe for some today, maybe for others 50 years from now. But we're going to die. And then we'll face the judge of judges. You see, the crooked judges can do those things today, but one day they will face the judge of judges, and they're going to pay for everything they said and everything they have done. And that also goes, for us. We will be rewarded for all the good things we have done, for the obedience to the Bible and his commandments. So in the end of the day, don't get depressed. Just keep obeying God. Keep doing what God is telling you to do. Do not be afraid. Fear not, he says 365 times. For every day you wake up in the morning, God whispers, and sometimes he shouts, do not be afraid. Be courageous. Be strong. Be bold. Preach the truth. The truth will set the captives free, because you have already won. We have already won. No, our enemy just doesn't know it yet. That's why the title of my book is Lions Do Not Bow. We don't bow before the hyenas. We don't bow before wolves.
I love it. I love it. That's so good. The world would be a much better place if we had 100 more people like you, 100 more people like Derek, and this is. I want to do my small part. As soon as I heard about this story, I emailed you and asked if you'd come on. I'm not in the trenches like you guys are. I'm not in Canada, but we've got 5 million people that read our website every month, and so whatever small part I can do to amplify this story, to get it out, to let you tell the story, to let Derek tell the story, to post it on our website, to post it on this show here, the Daily Truth Report. I want to do anything I can to help, because you're exactly right. Right now we are the last bastion of free speech here in America, but it's not real good here either. I mean, they are doing the exact same thing here that they're doing to you. They've been less successful here, but they have compromised so many judges here in the United States.
Yeah.
We saw what they did to Trump for 3 years with all the fake cases. They invented new crimes that didn't exist before and charged him with those. They didn't allow him to speak in court, just like they didn't allow Derek to speak. They are trying to run the same game plan here. So I see it. I want to do everything I can while we have a platform. I mean, I've been kicked off of Facebook twice for telling the truth. Not just kicked off, but we had a community of 1.5 million people on Facebook that they deleted overnight because they didn't like that we were telling the truth. Then I built up a second one to 1.5 million, and they deleted that one too. And so I'm with you. I'm not in the same trench as you guys are. You're doing incredible stuff, but I've been censored, I've been banned, I've been deleted. And that's here in America, and they're doing everything they can. Right now, we are holding the line. It's close. I think we were 1 centimeter away in Butler, Pennsylvania, from President Trump being taken out, and I think it would have been over. We've regained some ground now, but it is not a sure thing here. They would love to strip all of these same freedoms away from us. They're trying. They've tried to do it. They're going to keep trying. And right now, we're holding the line. We still have a constitution, but we have judges here that we've seen the whole year in 2025. The pattern we've seen is a low-level district court judge will issue a ruling that's directly in conflict with our laws and our Constitution. It'll get appealed. The appellate courts have been totally compromised by corrupt judges. They will uphold that corrupt ruling. And luckily, right now, our Supreme Court is split 6-3, with the majority 6 are still upholding the Constitution, and they have overridden countless corrupt rulings here in 2025. But that's the last standard. Once we lose that, it's over.
Yeah, and we have lost our Supreme Court. Our Supreme Court, you were asking, to tell my part of the story. I have been fighting for 20 years. I had some big wins and some major losses. I mean, I was found guilty on terrorism, so I appealed it. The Crooked Appeal Court of Alberta was told to uphold the decision, so we sent it to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to even allow you to bring forward the case. And the same thing they did with the ostrich farm. I'm sure you're aware of what they've done to the farmers, and there is a huge attack on the farming land. And I find this fascinating because the global narrative is we have shortage of food, right? We get too many people, not enough food. That's a big fat lie, because they're attacking farmers. They are doing everything in their power to stop the farmers from producing food, because they want to control everything. And in your country, you're right, America is not far away from a totalitarian regime, because Bill Gates, to my understanding, is the biggest landowner in the United States of America. So what they're doing, they're trying to destroy the farming industry to control food. Soviets and the Nazis, they had their, this famous saying, those that control the food supply control the nations. And that's exactly what they are doing. They want to control what we eat, how much we eat, with whom we are eating, where we can buy, where we cannot buy. So pay attention to this. But the difference between United States of America and Canada is this. That's why I'm very hopeful. I see lots of good things that are happening in your country. Lots of good people that are not ashamed of God in very powerful positions. Here is the difference. United States of America was forged, if you will, on this idea of liberty and fights and a way of tyranny and monarchy. We want to govern ourselves. You guys are crooks. You're corrupted. You're biased. And you're thieves. That's what they are. And you remove them. Mm-hmm. Canadians, unfortunately, they were the loyalists, and they bowed and embraced the monarchy. And here we are today under the boots of the British Empire, under the boots of the king that, as you know, is destroying, literally is destroying Europe, is destroying Ireland, is destroying New Zealand, is destroying Australia, and is destroying the British Empire. And so knowing all of that, we have a choice. And we can, like you people that are listening or watching, you have a choice. You can say, okay, well, too bad. I feel sorry for you. What a bummer. Or you can do something. You see, every man can do something. Everyone. The widows might. Or the widow that lost her husband and her children were to be taken into slavery. God told her to gather oil, right? So every man, she didn't have almost anything. She had very little, but she used that very little to put a seed into the right ground. So you can do the same thing. You may look at the story and wow, this is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy, but you can do something. You can do something. You can help us to keep fighting. You can spread the word around. You can share the story. You can let the world know that Americans are watching, and they're not going to put up with the neighbors that are abusing Christians. Christians are the most persecuted group of people on earth, and for a reason. Because Christians don't bow, real Christians don't bow before the golden statues of Nebuchadnezzar. Real Christians are not obeying illegal orders. Real Christians don't stop praying because the king says so. So we are finding ourselves more often in a lion's den. We see the gallows, like during the time of Esther and Mordecai, being built for us. But again, we are not one. Artur Pawlowski is not alone. Derek Reimer is not alone. Noah is not alone. We are an army countless army of children of the living God. When we come together in unity, that God said it clearly. When we come in his name, nothing shall be impossible for us. That means God wants us to be united. God, when one part of the body is hurting, the whole body should feel the pinch, the pain. When Derek, that's why people ask me why you're risking your life, going to prison, going to court, speaking out, pushing, rocking the boat, whatever you want to call it, for Derek Reimer. I said, listen, again, because Derek Reimer's today. I was yesterday, they let me, little bit to live my life. I'm still in court, I'm still fighting, but because of the exposure, the Get Out video that was watched over 1 billion times and other arrests, they kind of let me live my life. But now they have another victim, Derek Reimer, and I say to the people, I am involved, and I'm very vocal about it, because if Derek Reimer disappears, for whatever reason, they're going to go after another victim. And then they will multiply the victims. It will not be just one, it will be hundreds, and then it will be thousands. That's history. That's history. Mm-hmm. That's why you can help. And if you have a big reach, please go to streetchurch.ca. Help us, give $1 or buy a book. We get a little proceedings from the book as well. The book that the Canadian government fears the most. You can get a copy for your enemies. You can get a copy for your friends. Amazon.ca, Amazon.com. I don't know what else to say and do, except we are a family. We're supposed to work together and fight together. If one is down, another rises up to lift the one that is down. That's what I'm doing. I contacted my friends about Derek's story from the White House and other places as well, and they are aware of the story. They know what's going on, and now we need the masses to come with a big support, so we can keep fighting, so we can hire the best lawyers in the land, so we can expose this, because the mainstream media is not talking about this. They don't want the people to know that there is another pastor. Adam Germain, a few years ago, another crooked judge in Alberta, gave me a compelled speech order. I don't know if you remember, Noah. The judge said that every time I speak to another human being, every time I preach a sermon, every time I do interview, I must, by the court order, recite government-approved script about vaccines and about masks and the COVID craziness. And when I heard that, I turned to the media and said, okay, I'm going back to prison. How can a pastor preach a lie before he preaches the truth? So I grabbed the microphone and I said, and that name was, the judge's name was Adam Germain. And I said, Judge, I want you to hear me very clearly. I am a pastor and I refuse to lie to the people. My job is to preach the truth that will set the captives free. So I will never, ever obey your order. You can send your sheriffs, you can arrest me. I'm not running, I'm not hiding. But I'm telling you, I will never obey your order, and I never did. I was arrested later, but I never obeyed this man's order, because how can you? He ordered me to lie to the people. As a pastor, I cannot do that. How can I do that? Mm-hmm. And this is the problem with our churches. Pastors have become business people, fighting for the charitable status instead of preaching the truth. Pastors are more interested right now in this 21st century of this crazy Christianity. They are more interested into preaching to the wallets instead of preaching to the hearts of the people. Right now, the Christianity is kumbaya. Let's have a great time, the best coffee and gluten-free donuts. That's not the Christianity I find in the Bible. Christianity, you can have your gluten-free donut. Okay, it's fine. You can have your coffee. I have my coffee in the morning. I'm not against the big churches and nice things, right? I'm not crazy. Nice things are nice. I mean, I can talk to a microphone and computer and the camera, right? We can do things with nice things. I have a car. I don't walk. I don't ride a donkey or a horse. I don't come to United States, riding a donkey. I take a plane. I'm not against that. However, we, the Christians, should never sell the truth for trinkets. We should always preach the truth. Whatever the Spirit is saying to the churches today, we should give it to the people. It doesn't matter how popular or unpopular this is. The truth is the truth. If you see evil, you speak against that evil. You cannot become the three monkeys. I don't want to talk about this. The pastors, here is a really sad story regarding Derek. Derek, he married Mona. They have a little baby. I married them actually a few years ago. We are friends. And Derek, Mona, when she emigrated to Canada, was going to this one church and for years. And when they got married, Derek joined Mona going to that church as well. So he pastors, but he also attends a church. And after Derek was arrested, the pastor and the elders in the church, this is what they said to them: "You're no longer welcome here. You have been arrested. You're a lawbreaker." Again, what did Derek do? He exposed pedophilia. He didn't do anything criminal. He did not break the law. They're making stuff up, like you said with Donald Trump. And the pastor said, "You're no longer welcome here because we are a church that is not political. We don't want to have anything to do with politics." Since when abortion is political? Since when homosexuality is political? Since when, pedophilia is political? Right? So the pastor kicked them out. He kicked them out from the church because they don't want to have this splash around them, and they were heartbroken. I remember Derek came to me and said, "We just got kicked out from our church." Like, I can't believe it. Instead of standing with the victim, they sided with the villains. See, this is the tragedy in this story, that the people, the brothers and sisters that should support us with anything, whatever. Pray for me if you cannot afford $1. Expose or share this video if you cannot afford to support us financially. But every man can do something. But instead, most of the Canadian churches and the pastors, they decided to throw people like Artur Pawlowski or Derek Reimer under the bus. I think that's the biggest tragedy in this test, because it's a test. So, they don't have a church right now. They come to us when they came. Of course, right now, Derek is not allowed to even come to our church. One of the latest probation talks that they had is, "Why do you want to go to Artur Pawlowski's church? Because you're like-minded?" Can you? Why would you go to a church? Of course, you go to a church with like-minded people. You don't go to church with people that hate you. You go to places of worship because you want to be with like-minded individuals. But this is what is happening. This is a great divide, my friends. This is the great shaking. I remember about 6 months before the big lie, I called it COVID big lie, happened, God showed me a vision, and I shared that vision during that time, and then I stopped for a while, but I think I want to share it with you. During that vision, I don't have many visions, but when I do, I know they are from God. And I saw a big hands, powerful hands. I knew those are the hands of God. And he grabbed the fence, and I saw multitudes of people sitting on the fence, riding the fence, having a, kumbaya, life is good, a little bit of the devil, a little bit of God. I'm a holy on Sunday and I'm the devil on Monday type of Christianity. God grabbed this fence, and I saw people from around the world, every color you can imagine, every culture, every time. And he started to shake the fence violently. He started to shake it, and he kept shaking. And I saw people holding on to the fence. And then one after another, they were falling either to the left or to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. And he kept shaking violently until no one was sitting on the fence. And then he spoke to me. He said, "When I'm done shaking, everyone will have to choose either me or Satan." My friends, we are in the middle of this shaking. Shaking is still continuing. It never stopped. God is shaking the fence. He is showing who is who in the zoo. He is showing the world, and to us as well, who is real and who is fake, who is just a hired gun that calls himself, "I'm a pastor," but is fake. The moment the test comes, the moment wolves show up, he's nowhere to be found. He throws the sheep, under the bus. And who is the real deal? Derek Reimer is the real deal. Why? Because he's willing to pay the price. If you want to know who is who, look at their lives, look at their fruits. If your pastor is not willing to pay the price, if your pastor is more afraid to lose a charitable tax status, if your pastor is more interested in money or keeping the big building and having a great TV show, he's fake. Change the church, go to the real deal, because we are living in the last hour of the last days, where God is separating the sheep from the goats, and he's separating the sheep from the wolves. We are watching this, Noah, with our own eyes. So that means, you know what that means? That means that Jesus Christ is coming back. We don't know when he's coming back, but we know that the signs in heaven and on earth are visible even to those that don't want to see it. That makes me exciting, because that means one day, soon enough, this whole thing is going to end and every man will receive what's due to him. I'm looking forward to my rewards, and I'm looking forward to God's justice.
It's so powerful. I have so much fun having you on the show, Pastor. Everything you say is so powerful, and so it's a message that needs to get out. You're so right. Wow. Thank you for. We're having a little bit of church on Wednesday today, so I love this. Thank you for everything that you're doing. We certainly, I want to do my part. I love having you on the show. You're welcome anytime. People definitely will put a link down below to where they can find your book. It's a fantastic book. I know a lot of people have already gotten it. We'll put a link for that. Your website is streetchurch.ca. That's on the screen right now too. Before we wrap up, just one final question then. So Derek is out of prison. He's on home arrest. He's under all these gag orders. What's the outlook there? I mean, how does he ever get back to a normal life, or is he ever allowed to speak again, or where do we go from here?
Yeah, so his ordeal is not over, just like my ordeal is not over. Last time I faced the court, there was 8 lawyers against me last month. So the fight is brutal. The fight is to the death. Those people will never stop, Noah. They must be stopped. Evil never stops on its own. Evil must be stopped by good people. So Derek is still under a gun. Monday, we had a lawyer, Andrew Mackenzie, yesterday, and his wife in my house, actually. And he said that Monday they're meeting with the courts to schedule another court appearance for Derek, which will be in the new year. Until then, he is unbelievable. House arrest, muzzled, can do nothing, can say nothing. Then you got to remember, I said that at the beginning, that he already won his case, but then they appealed it, and now Derek Reimer is facing double jeopardy in April. So they are trying this case again, which he already won, because they didn't like the outcome that he was freed and he was found not guilty. So April is another trial for something that he already won. In the meantime, probably January, February, he's going to face at the court for his breaches. Again, remember, he talked to the reporter. That's a breach. He refused to write an apology letter to the groomers. Second, he indirectly referenced the manager during his interviews. That's another breach. So they charged him with multiple breaches, and then he will have to face another judge that will judge him on those breaches, and he may go back to prison for that. So he's on house arrest, but he may go back to jail. Again, what I was told, again, it's not confirmed yet, that I was told that on the 23rd of December, they might charge him again for the compelled speech, because in Canada, double jeopardy doesn't exist, so they can keep doing the same thing over and over again until they finish you off. That's why the story is so important. We are fighting, literally, we are fighting the implementation of a Nazi empire, a communist empire in Canada, a hybrid, a little bit of all those totalitarian regimes. And if we go down, you're next.
Yeah.
You will be attacked next, because that's how they do it. They take down New Zealand, they take down Australia, they took down Germany, they took down France and Netherlands, and now it's England and Ireland, and they take one country at a time. implementing the global regime, and Canada is fighting to the death as we speak. And when they are done with Canada, then they will fight America, and they will destroy America if we don't come together as one. So I want to thank you so much, Noah. If there are any questions from the audience, I mean, I'm willing to answer them. But I'm very grateful that there are people like you, Noah, courageous people, people that are not afraid to have a man like me to speak the truth. Because at the beginning, you asked me about questions. I said, like, ask me anything.
Mm.
Anything. I mean, if I know the answer, I'm going to give it to you. If I don't know, I don't know. I'm not a politician, a typical politician that everything is scripted and they're only going to give you what you want to hear, but they will do the opposite. With me, it's an open book.
Yeah, no, that's great. We've had a ton of comments come in. I've flashed as many up on the screen as I could as we went along. Mostly just people in support. Not a lot of questions. I think you did a great job laying everything out. You've got down here in America, you've got our full support. You've certainly got my full support. Everybody. Oh, here's a question that has come in here. I'll throw this on. You know, you mentioned Alberta being the most conservative province, but really each province is very different. Do you? This question is asking if you foresee a time of Canada breaking up or dividing. I mean, we've certainly had civil war talk here in the United States. What do you see for Canada?
100%. Canada's already divided. We will have to do another show how our system works. I mean, the moment we vote, it doesn't matter. Ontario and Quebec controls all powers in this country. The rest of the provinces and territories have no say. Literally, we have no say whatsoever. Alberta wants separation. However, Albertans do not realize, I think, yet that this government, this treacherous government of Daniel Smith, the conservative government, is not going to give them what they need and what they want. For that, we would need Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump would be able to set Albertans free. That character, that strong character of a man that is not willing to bow would be able to do it. What we have as our politicians, they're flip-flopping. Don't be offended, but I call them the whore of Babylon. Mm-hmm. They will go to bed with every monkey that votes. Today, they will tell you what you want to hear. And then tomorrow, to your enemies, they're going to say exactly what those people are willing to hear. Alberta wants separation. And most of Albertans would love to join United States of America. So when Donald Trump is talking about 51st state, we are cheering. We said, bring it on. There are some people, actually big number of people that are begging Donald Trump to come and take Alberta. Come and take us, please. Invade Alberta so we can be set free, so we can be liberated. And of course, this is not going to happen because that would create Third World War, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So the federal government is not going to allow it. It would create lots of problems. However, about half of Albertans want to separate. We want to be liberated either by joining United States of America or just creating our own country. So that's a huge movement in the province of Alberta. And I don't know when or how this is going to be unfolding. I promise you this, we will keep fighting. We will keep fighting. We'll keep speaking. We will do our best to honor God, not to compromise, and to expose those people. And, in the end of the day, we have to have this faith that God will come to the rescue. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not politicians. As much as I like what is happening in your country, I don't worship politicians. I worship Jesus. So I'm waiting for God. God, please help us here. Talk to the people. Touch their hearts. Please send us a reprieve. Send us a little bit of a support. Send the story out there. Ultimately, God is in power. And that's what I want to leave people with. God is in power, no matter how bad it is for you today, no matter how bad it is for me or for Derek today. In the end of the day, God will have his final say. We must have faith.
That's great. I have one follow-up question to that. You mentioned President Trump, Donald Trump, and you mentioned he's a man of strong character. I'm interested. I don't get a lot of pastors on here, so I'm interested in your view as a pastor. I I don't hear it as much. We heard it a lot more back in 2015, but I still hear it sometimes. People saying, "Well, I like Donald Trump's policies, but I just I don't think he's he's. I wish he was more kind and gentle, and I wish he was more like a pastor." And we didn't elect him to be our national pastor. We elected him to be our national leader. I think there are times as a national leader, the most powerful man in the world, you have to have a tough edge. And I my personal opinion, and then I want to get yours. But to the people who say, "Oh, he's just got too many rough edges," or "I don't always like his language," or "I don't like this or that," I'd love to hear what you think about that. But my personal opinion is, I think most people that you see, like a Joe Biden, everything is flipped. And, the Bible tells us this world is flipped upside down. You look at someone like Joe Biden, and on the exterior, he's just a nice grandfatherly man. He speaks so quietly and so nicely when he's not doing the creepy whispering thing, but he just speaks so genteel and so nice. But I think deep down, you've got a heart of stone. You've got a black heart in there, just evil.
Yeah,
I think Donald Trump is the reverse. I think he's got a tough exterior and a heart of gold. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, they're con artists. You have to understand they're playing like the good cop and the bad cop. They all work for the same police department. They're just playing you like a fiddle. I'll tell you why I like Donald Trump. I like a man that says what he feels and what he thinks. Even if I will disagree with something, I appreciate a person that is willing to tell me the truth, right? His truth. What is happening? Let me ask you this question while I'm answering your question. Who would you want to have when you're attacked by gangsters? A police officer with a coffee and gluten-free donut serving the gangsters, or a guy with a gun and saying, "Drop your weapon or I'll shoot you dead"? Well, I know I would prefer the rough on the edges police officer that is actually going to do his job. In a time of war, and don't kid yourselves, you are in a time of war. America is under attack. You are in a war. I hope you understand this. Spiritual and physical. You are under attack. This is an invasion against American people. So during the time of war, you need a warrior type of an individual, like Winston Churchill. As a person, I never liked Winston Churchill. He was a flawed man. I can say a lot of things negative about Winston Churchill, but for the time of war, I love the guy. He was the right person for the right season. In my opinion, Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, is the right man for the right season, because you are in the middle of a war for your lives. Yes, he's rough, but you need a tough, strong individual to fight those monsters. He's not fighting pussycats. He's fighting wolves. He's fighting hyenas. He is fighting the most vicious beast out there, and you need a strong fighter. Donald Trump is a fighter. And even when I was watching live, when he was shot, what came out of his mouth, it was incredible. Instead of crawling and crying and just hiding, and he just fight. If I was an American, that would be my president. Not because he's a perfect man, far from it. I believe because he's a right man for the right time, and he has the right job to fight for the American people. That's why, when you vote for a politician, you're not voting for Jesus Christ. I mean, we already have a king. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. When we vote for our politicians, we are voting for people just like you and me, sinners saved by grace and grace alone. Imperfect people that make stupid, dumb mistakes. When I travel, Noah, people will come and say, "You're a hero, you're this and then that, and you're so amazing." And I would say, this is my wife's phone number. You can call her and she will break this delusion out of your head. Artur Pawlowski is no different than you. I'm just a man. I'm doing my best. Sometimes I'm good at it. Sometimes I'm horrible at it. Sometimes I'm on the top of the hill. Sometimes I am in the valley. I am very grateful that God has given me a wife that I have. She is the real fighter. She's the real, power in this union. And when I get my poor me, people don't support me, I am nailed with $20,000-$30,000 every month with legal fees. And it's like, how can a little guy can do this? God. And when I'm whining and complaining, my wife comes to me and is like, stop whining and complaining. Stop it. Stop sinning against God. God will, he will pull us through this. He is going to supply. So far, so good. He has never leave you. He has never forsaken you. So stop whining. Stop complaining. Just have faith. God will do what he always does. He loves the underdog. He loves the fighter. He loves those that truly believe, even if the whole thing looks different. And that's why I believe that your administration right now, in my opinion, is the right one, because they are slowly but surely pushing what's right. Sometimes they make a mistake. But even right now, the president talking about Jesus during the Christmas season. You have to understand, Americans, in Canada, we have no one, not one politician that is talking about Jesus, not one politician that is, talking about righteousness of God and justice, not one politician, including the Conservative Party. The leader of the Conservative Party, that's like your Republicans, the leader of that party said that when I'm elected prime minister, there will never be a talk about abortion. In Canada, we can murder our children up, including 9 months. And this is a conservative leader that says, we will keep murdering children when I'm the prime minister. So cherish the people you have, because sometimes you don't appreciate what you have. You want more, but you already have so much. In my country, in Canada, we have none of it. We have all been betrayed. We have all been betrayed by our politicians, all of them, all the parties, ushering the enslavement of humanity in Canada. So I have a friend, and he always had this saying, eat the meat, spit the bones. You're looking for perfection, do not look in the mirror. The perfection is up, not down. Only God is perfect. Only one is sinless. We're all going to fail. And I say to my people all the time, Artur Pawlowski is going to fail you. One day, this time or that time, I'm going to say something you will not like. I'm going to do something that you will not like. Don't look at me. I'm no different than you. Look at Jesus. Look at God. He is the author and the finisher of our faith. We just have to have faith and courage and boldness to do what he's telling us to do.
Well, I can't think of any better way to end it than on that note. That is so powerful, so true. Artur, thank you for coming on the show again. Really great. Sounds like there's going to be a lot happening in the springtime of next year up in Canada with you and especially Derek. I'd love to have you back on. We'll do our part to blast this out to as many people as we can. We've got a little bit of a megaphone here. We'll use it. We're in the fight with you. You've got our full support, and thank you for all that you're doing. We really appreciate it, and I know everyone in Canada appreciates it.
Thank you. Thank you, Noah. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Same to you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.